friends, this is Grace and welcome to my channel and welcome to a card video. So I'm going to share with you these 10 cards. I found a video here on YouTube about One Sheet Wonder, and I've always wanted to try that one even when I was seeing it in like Pinterest and whatnot. But this video that I found was really extensive. I really enjoyed her tutorial, and so I'm basically following that mini class that she did and all of her designs. Now I showed you my first set of cards and I liked it so much that I'm going to actually create another one. And after this, I actually created another one. So I made 3 sets of these One Sheet Wonder cards. Again, these are not my own designs. I really find it interesting when I see different kinds of videos that will show you how to maximize a paper and that there's no leftovers. Like I really find that fascinating because I always find myself with, scraps and with leftovers. So I always want to see how I can use one full sheet of a paper and not have any waste. So these card sets, there's going to be 10 of them, and the idea is that you pick a paper that maybe you've kind of hoarded or it's really pretty and it's nice to use it, but you don't want to waste it. So that's basically what I'm doing here. And I did write down her measurements, and so I'm kind of following along. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but I had a 1/4 inch, like a sliver of paper that I had trimmed because I accidentally had cut it off of the, like that middle piece that I'm cutting right now was supposed to be a tad wider than it was. And so the third one ended up a tad wider than it should be. And so I just trimmed that out. So if you are trying to follow this, make sure to check the description box below and check her tutorial rather than following mine, because I'm a newbie with One Sheet Wonders, and so I'm just kind of following something and I make mistakes. So I'm just again following her cutting guidelines. And I don't know if you noticed, but this paper is really old. It's from Echo Park, but it is a very old paper. And I love the flowers, but I think that if you have some paper in your stash that you really love, but maybe you just don't have any layouts that you want to use, or maybe you're saving it for that really awesome project that you've been thinking of, well, try One Sheet Wonders, because I think this is a great way of using papers that we have been hoarding and use it to its full capacity. So I'm just cutting it out. I love the design of this One Sheet Wonder as well, because you start off with some bigger pieces, and then from that bigger pieces you can cut smaller ones that actually will be used for the cards. So I'm going to speed up the rest of this video for you. One thing though that I did notice with her was that she was using some white cardstock for the inside. At first I thought that was kind of a waste, because if you're using like white cardstock or something like that, there's no need to add another extra piece. But I did notice that she had used a darker cardstock. Now that made more sense to me. So with my darker cardstock, well, this is not really dark, but with my non-white cardstock bases, I will be using a white insert for the inside of the card, just so that whoever uses this card will have a nice clean white background to be able to write their sentiment on. And another thing that I did was I pulled out some scraps from my scrap stash to fill in or to use as matting for the blocks. Like that first card, I used a yellow card stock for matting that square piece. Now this one called for white, so I am definitely going to use some white for this. And I just love the designs. It's very easy. Now you can make this cards more more bumpy and stuff, but I just decided that I'm gonna do them flat because I'm actually going to give out these cards to some family members kind of as a thank you. And so I just wanted to be flat. So if they wanted to mail it, they can easily do that. I did use a lot of white cardstock for this set, and I used a lot of my 8.5 by 11 card bases. 8.5 by 11 cardstock for the card bases. But I think that's the beauty of projects like this, is that you get to use your items and you get to use a lot of them. So you are definitely making the most of your supplies. And I am using a very old stamp set here. This is from Paper Smooches, and I just love the big bold sentiment. I will be using another small one because there are some designs for the other card sets that would require a smaller sentiment. So I am using a, oh gosh, I forgot what the name of the stamp set. I think it's like Hampton Arts, but it's a very it has some smaller stamp sets there. And then for the card bases, I decided to pull out some colors that will complement the flowers or the colors from my pattern paper. And this is where I'm going to start using some of the smaller stamp set, but I don't really like it. I think it's kind of a cheap stamp set because you can tell from the acrylic that it's very soft, like it's more rubbery than your like Simon Says stamp or a My Favorite Things. So, but I'm gonna power through because I do want to use up my stash here. So I'm just gonna use the I miss you instead of the congrats, and I'm gonna trim off the excess from that and ink it up and then adhere it. Again, not using any type of foam adhesive here, just everything will be flat. And I would say with cutting it, planning it, this project, like if you were going to do a set like this would take you no more than 2 hours. It's very, very quick, especially if you're just following somebody else's design already and you're not making your own one. I think this is very doable. And this actually helped me because I have been in a crafting slump for a few weeks now. When I created this, I was coming off of a 3 week slump. Like I didn't make any scrapbook pages, any cards. I was just not feeling it. And so this was really good for me. And I think if you are in a slump and you just want to be able to get back on your creative mojo, I say follow somebody else's plan, because then that means that you don't have to think through so many aspects of the crafting. You just have to craft. And that really helped me to get back on track. So, I mean, I haven't scrapbooked a ton since then, maybe like 1 or 2 scrapbook pages after this, but it really helped me jumpstart my creativity. So I believe we are now on card number 5. And again, like I said, this is going really fast because I am following somebody else's. Now, this one, I was trying to use this birthday stamp, but I don't really like it. So I am going to kind of deviate and do my own thing. And because I have stamped that on the card base itself, I need to cover it up. So I'm going to grab a pink card stock that I just have on the side, for matting and whatnot. And so I'm going to cover that up, and I like that one better. And then here is, I would say this brown one is the darkest color that I have, that I will be using for this particular card set. And I had used a light green, like a kind of a mint green, a yellow, a white, a brown, and then pink. I used 5 8.5 by 11 cards. If you've ever watched any of my 10 handmade cards, 1 homemade kit, that's basically the formula that I used in order for me to create 10 card bases, so that I could just use a 8.5 by 11 and use that for 2 card bases. So that's what I'm doing here as well. And I actually really like having that white insert because then I can use more of my colored cardstock. Now, this particular card, her technique that she showed was kind of a ombre type of stamping, wherein she had stamped the bottom and then don't restamp it, but instead just have that light, like the second generation and the third generation stamp. And I tried that, but it didn't really work for me. And so I just basically inked up my stamp again and again when I was stamping it, or when I was adding the sentiment to the card base. So I think this is going to be card number 8. And the trick here is to have that circle inside and then fill that in with a card base on the back and then put your sentiment. Now, I thought that because I was using a white card base, that I don't really need to add another card base or cardstock inside of it. But then I'm noticing that the white cardstock background was just not doing it for me. It was just too, I don't know, too simple. So I decided to punch out a circle and then stamp my sentiment on there. And then because the circle is just a tad smaller than my card base, then it will make it have a frame around it. So I really like that part. And then part of the cutting is that you have these little strips of paper and that goes inside the card base. So I really like that part as well. So card number 9 entails to use that circle that you had cut out from card number 8 and then layer that up with a few more cardstocks. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm using my nested die from My Favorite Things and cutting them from my scraps of cardstock that I had picked solely to match. I picked to match the colors of the pattern paper. Now, if you have there's more circles in your nested die, I think it will work better, because mine, I think, is a 1/4 inch. And I think this one will work better if it was like an 1/8 inch difference for the card base. So initially I had wanted to do white, but I felt that it was kind of a little too boring. So I'm going to go with the yellow instead. And I like how cheery that is. And then I'm going to put the insert and call it good. Oh, I have to put my sentiment. Now, I had wanted a big one, but the space, that means that I'm going to cover up the circle. So I'm just going to go with one of my small ones, and I think that works good. So this is now my last card. I'm telling you, this style is really easy to follow. It makes it really quick. And so I'm going to go finish this up, and it's just punching out some circles. I used my 1¼ inch Creative Memories circle punch. I'm sure you can use 1 inch as well if you have it. Now, in the sample, or in the tutorial that I followed, her sentiment was actually on the bottom of the circles, but I like it better that it's on the top, because that circle kind of creates a border on the bottom. And that will do it. So thank you so much for watching. Again, the tutorial, the inspiration will be in the description box below if you want to watch that. And here are the samples of the cards that I created. And I also created another set, and I will show that in the close-ups here. And thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.